Hi, my name is Matt Jett, and here's a little bit about me. I was born in Omaha, Nebraska in 1985. This was my parents' first home, and where I lived at for the first couple years of my life. And here are my parents over 30 years ago, in the mid-80s. I actually have some memories living here. Just before I moved from here to Alaska, I became a big brother. Alaska. I lived in this strange and beautiful land, where the sun would never go down in the summer, and would often drop to negative 70 degrees in the perpetually dark winter. I went through preschool and kindergarten here, and my other brother was born. After 4 years in Alaska, we moved to Montana, and we drove on the longest road trip I've ever been on. We drove over 4,000 miles through Alaska, diagonally across Canada, to upstate New York to see my grandparents. Then after a few days, we drove from there to western Montana. And this is where I have some of my favorite childhood memories. Here, I started and finished elementary school. And over the next 4 years of my life, we went on a ton of family road trips. My dad would be deployed a lot, serving in the Gulf War, and would be gone for extended periods of time, where I wouldn't see him for almost a year, with only a few weeks of bonding time in between deployments. I suddenly had issues paying attention in school. My grades slipped, and I was given Ritalin to treat this new disease that all kids suddenly had in the early 90s, ADD. I was friends with every Air Force brat in the block, riding my bike all Stranger Things style throughout the neighborhood. Those were good days. Then when I was 10, I had to say goodbye to all my friends, and we moved to Florida. Living in Florida was a culture shock for me, especially living most of my life in the Northwest. Crazy bugs, constant heat and humidity, thunderstorms almost daily, me really missing snow. On the upside, we visited Disney World twice, and I played in the ocean for the first time in my life. Yet these were rough years of my life. My middle school years were uncomfortable. I was a minority in our school, and had kids constantly bullying me, seeing gang violence and crimes daily. Most white kids were all part of the redneck culture, and I never felt like I belonged anywhere. Once a kid pulled a knife out on me, stuck it to my belly, and threatened to kill me if I didn't give him the stupid fidget toy I was playing with. Eventually, I found refuge in a small group of geeky white kids, and that was it for my social life there. My dad finally retired from the Air Force, and we had to move one last time as a family. Needless to say, I was happy to start a new me, to go to a place where no one knew me. No social media existed in those days, so I had a chance to redefine myself to others. But this time it was much harder to say goodbye to my friends. We moved to Wisconsin, and I lived some wonderful years of my life here. We got a late surprise in the family. My sister Sarah was born, 11 years after my youngest brother. I started and ended high school here, and those were some fun years for me. I experienced many milestones in this chapter of my life. School dances, first girlfriend, first car, first job, moving out, and hosting many parties from my apartment.
Here we go.
Nice. Have fun.
No, I'm okay. I might.
Eventually, I got bored of always going out to bars and partying, going nowhere in life. This was during the recession, and I ended up losing my job. I began furiously applying for jobs, with no luck for a long time. This was my life for a little while. It was hard to make a life for yourself, that young and during such a hard time in this country, especially when baby boomers called you lazy and entitled. Pull yourself up by your bootstraps. I beg to differ from most of us millennials. A lot of us tried our hearts out. Maybe that's why most of us went to college, knowing the value of holding a job, even at the cost of lifelong debt. I eventually got a job as a commissioned salesman, selling electronics. A few years into living on my own, my dad took a job across the country, in a city I never heard of, Spokane. My family moved and I stayed behind, so for the first time in my life I was truly separated from them and really on my own, and alone. Right around then, I landed a job with TSA. But life got harder for me though. I fell into depression. I was in debt over my head, alone, and lost in life. Then one day my dad offered me an opportunity to start over, offering to pay off all my debt at the cost of moving in with them, working to pay him back. This may seem like a good deal for most, but for me, you need to understand my dad. I left out some important details about him. Let's say he was tough on us. He was pretty controlling. So this was a hard decision for me. Lose my pride or my life. But I sucked it up and I chose to take the deal. But it was nice to leave Wisconsin, though. I was always used to starting over in life, every 4 years in fact. I stayed in Wisconsin for 9 years, longest I ever stayed in one spot. I transferred my TSA job to Spokane and took my first solo road trip across the country. Little did I know that this next chapter would be the most significant one of my life. Moving to Washington felt bittersweet for me. I missed my family, but I felt like a failure. Over time, I began to resent my job. I got stuck working night shifts, I became severely sleep deprived, I never established a social life, and my mental state tanked. Luckily, I eventually gained enough seniority to switch to day shift. I eventually paid my dad off, and I got a place of my own. As time went on, I got news that one of my best friends, David, committed suicide. This was the first time I ever lost someone close to me, and it sucked. On a lighter note, shortly after the funeral, I achieved a dream in my life. I bought my dream car. More time goes by, and I meet this beautiful woman named Jenica Jett in this little coffee shop in the summer of 2013. We quickly fell in love and moved in together. On our anniversary, I asked her to marry me. See that ring over there? That diamond I found when I was 13 years old in a mine. And I've been holding on to ever since, waiting to give it to the one that I'd marry someday. Needless to say, we planned our wedding and grew excited for the big day to come. When we got back from our anniversary road trip, the one where I proposed her at, we decided I should go to college and make a better life for us. So I quit TSA, sold my dream car, and enrolled at EWU. I chose computer science, only for the reason of high pay and job availability out there. Never programmed anything before, and I knew failure wasn't an option, so I had to make it work. We got married in the summer of 2015, and the wedding was so beautiful. But nowhere as beautiful as she was. Right after we got back from our honeymoon, the strength of our marriage would be tested. We got news that my parents were getting divorced, filling up our first years of our marriage with my parents' drama. This strained our marriage early on, but we held on to our vows. You know the whole for better or for worse part in the vows? We just didn't think the whole through sickness and in health part would apply to us just mere months after our wedding as well. Out of the blue, I found out I was going into heart failure, so I needed surgery right away. While I recovered, I took a quarter off from school, and then I got more news. I found out I was going to be a dad. Shortly after this, I decided after thinking about it for over a year, I wanted to take my wife's last name. So I changed my name from Matthew Donaldson to Matthew Jett. Until my son was born, after my heart surgery, I endured through some bizarre neurological issues that turned out to be physical manifestations of PTSD due to the simultaneous stresses I was facing in life, all while somehow maintaining good grades in school and preparing to become a father. The day finally came. My son, August Jett, was born. Still to this day, I have never had a more powerful moment in my life, the pride of seeing my son for the first time. For the first couple of years of his life, our son would battle with medical issues including heart surgery when he was only a year old, along with other possible fears about his health in the future. But for now, he is healthy and we're all in good spirits. It's been 4 years since we got married, and our son is 3. And things have calmed down in life. I'm almost done with school, and this chaotic chapter in my life will be over, transitioning to the next one. The one where I graduate, land a career job, get our first home, expand our family, and finally get my dream car back. I'm 33, but I still feel young, like my life is just beginning. If this much can happen in a short amount of time, I cannot imagine what will happen in the next 33 years of my life.